Can you imagine just being born and not only having a stroke, but being diagnosed with hydrocephalus, which is an imbalance between how much cerebrospinal fluid is produced and how much is absorbed into the bloodstream? How about growing up to live with bursitis, a painful condition when your bursie is inflamed? Those are small fluid-filled sacs that cushion the bones, tendons, and muscles near your joints. What about having chronic hip issues that cause you to walk with a limp? Today's guest, Isla Hixson, has a phenomenal story to tell, dealing with all this, and believe it or not, much more. Are you ready for another chronic pain conversation? Let's go. Hello and welcome to Chronic Pain Conversations. My name is Sharifa McLaren Thomas, and this is my lovely co-host, Kalila Bruzel. This is a show where we have open and honest dialogue about chronic pain. We share on our experiences, acknowledging the wide variety of chronic pain diagnosis, and look at ways to manage chronic pain. But guess what? Of course, we're going to jump right into pain or pleasure to get a status up on where both our bodies are at for this show. So, Kalila, I see you laughing. Pain or pleasure?
So, I'm laughing today, but I'm actually going to have to say pain, because believe it or not.
I'm so excited. I heard the I got so excited.
There's no pleasure.
Oh my God. You're looking up pleasure though.
Sharifa, I went swimming again for the first time since this new car accident. I went swimming. I tried to. My body shut down for like 3 days. I was my whole body. I literally spent the weekend in bed feeling like I was on fire. And it wasn't like muscle fire. It was just like fire. If you're from the West Indian culture, you understand when we say fire.
Yeah.
So, I still smile, and I've been talking to my psychiatrist about that and everything in terms of mindset, but no, girl, my body hurts today. My spine hurts. My lower back hurts. I look pretty. So do you.
Right? That's what I'm saying. I got excited because you were looking pleasure. Then I heard the PL come on and I was like, oh, we were almost there.
We were almost there. Talk to me about you. How are you doing? How's the week?
I'm for the most part, I'm pleasure. I'm having a good day. I had a productive morning and got a lot of stuff done. The day's not done yet. But I paced myself, have to, take a break for chronic pain conversations today. And then it's back to just getting stuff done, which I'm on it. So I think by the end of the day, I'd be very satisfied. So no pain today.
Wow, serious. Okay, so we are definitely, I have to say that in us having our first guest last week, I was so excited with the new changes that have been coming with chronic conversations, because we wanted to do something new this season. So, my thing about having these guests and having these personal stories, and even us, we're used to sharing it, but really just bringing the invisibility visible has been an interesting story for me, and I'm really excited about today's guest.
Yeah, I honestly think, even from just like you said last week, our first guest, the guests that we have coming, I think we're so blessed to have these people coming on here. And believe me, I hear about the experiences, but I'm excited for our community, our chronic pain community, to hear about their stories firsthand.
Our goal, our mission here is really to bring the invisible visible. And I think that if there's anybody that's watching this who literally, feels like they're advocating by themselves, who feels like that they might be alone, this is why we want you to stay in tune, because really and truthfully, when you hear the stories of other people that are going through what you're going through, or I want you to feel like you're not alone. And I've had so many different other life experiences, not to be on the dark side of things, but being the rape, being in group homes, being a high school dropout, and feeling like, is it just me? So bringing that concept here and going, it isn't just you. Really, and hopefully we are hoping that, people are healed, people get awareness and things.
Right.
Right. So I want to jump into who our guest is, because I met Isla of all places on this streaming. And she was this really quiet person who would kind of just stay in the back and watch everybody streaming and only put in her 2 comments, and she'd never show up. Like, come on. And then I think a week after meeting her and just talking with her and encouraging her, she started streaming. And she started talking about her story, and she started getting some followers. But in addition to that, she is in a place, and I want her to update us about this, but she's been working with some organizations so that she can do some advocating for hydrocephalus. And then on top of it, on a business perspective, she's somebody that I was mentoring in terms of getting herself. One of the issues that we have when it comes to chronic pain is doing that 9 to 5. And she has so many goals and aspirations and the things that she wants to do for herself, and the way she's choosing to fight for herself and choosing not to stay down has just been an amazing thing. The way that she talks and how she's like, no, this is not going to defeat me. I'm just going to keep going. So I am really excited to bring this person on. So just to let you guys know, Isla Hixson, as Sharifa said, was diagnosed with hydrocephalus. She has some seizure disorders, hip problem, and has a shunt because of her hydrocephalus. So dealing with chronic pain has been a one day at a time, and she doesn't take life for granted. I love the fact that she said this. So what we want to do is right now is we are going to bring on guest Ila Hickson to our show. Hi, Ila. How are you doing today? Can we hear you? Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Can you hear her, Sharifa?
I can hear her, yes.
Perfect. So, Isla, we just want to first and foremost thank you for coming to the show to say, we are so glad to have you here. So what we want to do is we're going to just go through some of the things that have been happening with you and talking about your life, because, it is a pleasure to have you here. So let's kind of start your story off with birth, birth and having this hydrocephalus and this shunt. Sharifa defined what it means, but can you tell us what happened to you? And from your perspective as a patient, what does that diagnosis mean?
Okay, when I was born, when my mother had me, she took me home. My auntie Laverne.
Can you speak a little louder into the mic?
Okay, can you
There.
Okay, my mother had me and she took me home to my auntie. My auntie seen me and she said, I don't like Isla's head. My soft spot went from here to here.
Right.
Okay. So my mom took me back to the doctor, and they tested me and they said, Linda, Isla's hydrocephalus. My left side of my brain was 3 times bigger than the right. So they immediately took me into surgery. Therefore, they put what they call a VP shunt, which is on my left, from the top of my brain with the side down to my abdomen. And I had that shunt for 10 years.
From your brain into your abdomen.
From the bottom of the brain.
Right.
All the way past my breastbone to my abdomen.
Because this is in your body.
This is in my body as of now. Because
okay.
When you go to sleep, when you and Sharifa go to sleep, through your spine, you gain what is called CSF, chronic cerebral fluid.
Right.
People like me gain too much. So the shunt is there to circulate it through the day.
Wow. Okay. So you were talking about your first 10 years. What happened after that? Is the shunt still there? Do they have to go back in?
No, my shunt was still there. The original one is still there. We noticed around when I was 10 that I was getting real sick, having seizures. 10, 20 a day, to where I would have to stay home and headaches started, but we didn't know what it was. So we went to my pediatrician and he said, well, I'm going to give you a neurologist. It's time for Dr. Huntley. So we went to Dr. Huntley. And Dr. Tunley said, okay, we're going to go back to Stanford. So we went back to Stanford, and Stanford said, okay, we got you on this medicine, which is called Depakote. Depakote blew me from a little girl of a size, little chunky girl, to a size 220 pounds. From this time I was in elementary to the time I was in middle school, I was 150. By the time I got to high school, I was 220. And you can imagine the teasing I got. Now, at Stanford, they realized, okay, Isla, you're having too many seizures. You don't have this stunt since you were 10. It's disconnected. So the headaches you're having, the seizures you're having, it's the cerebral fluid going on in your brain like this. It wasn't doing nothing. It wasn't going down my abdomen. It was literally leaking. I couldn't hold my head up like you and Sharitha. I couldn't do it. I was just going because it was hard. So they looked at me and they said, let's go back in. So when I was, it took some time because I was getting hospitalized. Me and my mom and the doctors a lot, and I was getting hospitalized, and my doctor said, okay, you had 10 seizures this week. Let's get popped in the Hilton. And the Hilton would turn to the hospital, which was on the hill. I would stay there for a couple of days, go home with some medicine, stay home for another week, miss high school for 2 weeks. So in my 11th and 12th year, I literally missed half of that year because I had brain surgery I remember this. At this time, my doctors had switched. I went to Dr. Michael Reisinger, my neurologist, and he said, Isla, you need brain surgery. And I said, will it kill me? He said, well, we need to see what your scan is. Because I used to go to my neurologist every 3 months. I was switching medicine every 7 years. We didn't know what was wrong. And he said, okay, here's the aftermath of the results of the scans. And I looked at the last one. My brain was so big with cerebral fluid, so filled. And I said, will I die without this shunt revision? He said, yes. I said, it might sound sarcastic, but I said, let's get to cutting.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, I was serious. I was 18. My mom thought I was crazy. I said, let's get to cutting. We went in. We had surgery. 2 months later, I still couldn't hold my head up. Me and my mom was wondering why. One day I woke up from a nap in pain. I heard this. I kid you not. I said, Mom, I'm hearing something in my head. She said, what? I said, put your head to my ear. I said, it said, shh, shh. She said, I'm calling the doctor. It was cerebral fluid. And they called back. They said, we put the wrong valve in Isla's head. They put they put a medium size instead of a small. So the next month, almost going into my senior year, I had to go back in surgery.
Wow. So high school was interesting.
Yeah. I'm fascinated. I'm so sorry. I'm very fascinated. I mean, you gave us the gist of your story, but
Yeah,
I mean,
a lot.
the gist doesn't give it any justice. I want to know, you said it started early from when you were in elementary school up until, high school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Why was it such a big mystery?
Because we don't know where hydrocephalus comes from. We don't know.
And that's something you still don't know?
We still don't know. We don't know where the seizures come from. Some say scar tissue. Some say the beginning of the brain. But we really don't know. That's why when you ask me, where did they come from? I told you, I don't know. That's why when the doctors see me, it amazed me when the doctors, my last visit to Stanford before I moved, my doctor saw me walking. Every time they saw me walk in the office, they were like, you're still walking. You're still talking.
Wow.
When I graduated from college, I brought my degrees to them. They said, you did it. I said, yeah. They would send me a card every year because they knew my case. And they still looked at me and my mom like, she's still kicking.
It's a very interesting thing.
Mhm.
I think one of the things that I do have a next question for you, but one of the things that's so interesting is that in our chronic pain community, people always want an answer.
Mhm.
And right now, your the foundation of where your hydrocephalus comes from and where your seizures come from is a medical mystery, which is evident, which I always advocate about, that physicians are men and they don't know everything. How does that leave you in terms of medicine, and practitioners don't know where it comes from, but they're trying their best to make sure that I survive?
Well, I was blessed. I was real blessed with a great pediatrician and a lot of the two neurologists I had in my life blessed because I gave them hell. I gave them hell.
Why?
Because they were new. They weren't if you were not Dr. George Hamilton Penn, pediatrician of Monterey Peninsula,
Hmm.
you weren't touching me. And I told him, I said, I would tell Dr. Penn on you. Touch me wrong. Cut me wrong. Please do. I will tell on you and have your license.
But
That's the spunk I like about Isla.
you know what? I love that, and I love that because especially when we were acknowledging our doctors, Kalila, it goes to show the rapport that Isla has with her physician.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
If she couldn't trust him, if there was no sort of relationship, then she would have been like, whatever, on to the next, But
like
for
my
that
dad-
doctor, having his bedside manners and Isla
Oh,
being
yeah,
able
oh, yeah.
to trust him it speaks volumes.
like
Wow.
with Dr. Huntley, he made me mad one day. I said, okay, Dr. Thomas Lee Huntley. Okay, Dr. Thomas. He said, I'm Dr. Huntley to you. I said, no, Dr. Thomas Huntley. That's who you are right now.
You go on and advocate, Isla. I have another question for you. Can we talk about your hip disorder and your like, when did that start and what is the medical diagnosis? Because I mean, some of our people don't understand that a hip, like the bursitis, is like, it's meaning the sac around the hip, when it gets irritated, it flares up and it rubs against each other. And that makes so much pain. So what does that explain to us? Explain to anybody that may not know what a hip bursa is. How long have you been living it? What caused it?
Okay. My hip bursitis goes back to my stroke. Okay. Because I had the stroke, the aftermath was my right side being limited and me walking with a limp. Because I walk different, my equilibrium is like that. So I walk like that. And with my hip being out of place, it's like, okay, my hip, the sac, the hip socket. Well, when I walk, it's like this. So after a while, the sac gets inflamed, and so it acts like it's rubbing against bone. So after a while, it's like, to where I can't move. And I'm like, okay, it's time for some Motrin. It's time for some Vicodin. Hey, just shoot me and I'll wake up. Just shoot me. I have actually said this prayer: God, shoot me in the hip and just let me walk another day tomorrow. I have actually prayed that because my hip has just been, it keeps me in bed a couple days.
Wow.
But they didn't know at first if it was arthritis or if it was a bursa. Because see, arthritis and a bursa doesn't show up on a X-ray. How mine showed up is when they touched me and they would get their jobs threatened. Oh yeah, they got their jobs threatened. When they touch me and I would say, look, you want your job, you want your license? I advise you not to touch me. Do not prick me. Can you just look at my face and tell me that I'm in pain? Because I'll be crying. What else can you do?
Yeah.
So then they realize, okay, this is what you have. I can't touch that area, if your clothes hurt, I couldn't wear jeans. I can't wear jeans sometimes. Jeans hurt. Then that's when they finally say, okay, this ain't arthritis.
Oh,
This
so
ain't
they try to diagnose you with other stuff first.
Yeah. If you can't wear clothes sometimes, you can't wear
Yeah.
shorts. This ain't going the right way. You got bursitis. And I've been had that since I was 15, 16.
Wow.
So with all that going on, Isla, what does treatment look like for you when it comes to the hip bursitis, when it comes to the hydrocephalus? What does your treatment look like?
My hydrocephalus treatment, I take my seizure med. That helps. But if I have a shunt headache, I literally lay down without a pillow, straight on my bed, and just have to lay there for like an hour and a half, just to let my shunt rest. Because then I can't move my neck. I can't do this.
Makes sense.
Uh-uh.
Do you have they ever recommended injections for you? Because I know that's one of the treatments.
Well, injections for me, they would have to shoot me on this side, my right, because my left is off limits.
Oh, okay.
See, everything on the left side of my neck you can't do.
Got you.
Do you see any physicians, clinicians? Like, you've already brought up a neurologist and a family physician, but who else is part of your clinical team? What does that look like for you?
This year, I hate to do it, but I'm going to finally put on my list to get a surgeon, a neurology surgeon, just to have on hand. I'm afraid to do that because my mother's deceased and she was the one to, understand that lingo. being that nursing was her background, but I have to take the bull by the horns and do it myself.
Do you see a physiotherapist? Do you see a chiropractor? Were there any physicians outside of the neurologist and the family doctor that's been helping you through your life journey?
Oh yeah. I'm at a time I had as many doctors as my age.
So can you tell us an example? Give us an example of the list.
At one time I had a neurologist. When I had my arm surgery, I had a specialist to see how my arm is going to work and look. I had when my hip really started acting up when I was a kid. I had a hip doctor.
Do you remember what they were called? Like, is that like an osteo?
No, at Stanford they didn't want to put real doctor labels on the doctors in. They were called hip specialists, and then that's when the first doctor told my mom that Ila's hip is inoperable.
It's inoperable.
Right.
So this is something that you have to now
the rest of my life.
Wow. So can we talk about coping and support then? Because it's not that, like, people don't understand that people can be born with chronic pain, or that even though you're in pain, how you're going through life. And we have someone that's an example of, they literally had excessive fluid going swish, swish, swish in their head, and they still became a high school and a college, graduate. There's this place where, it hurts to literally walk. And so many people in this world have no idea what it means that every time you take a step, maybe they've had a cast, but they've never actually had a hip issue and I can understand it because I have bursitis as well when you're going through that. So what have been some of your coping strategies? Who has been some of your support in your life outside of your clinicians so that you can be happy every day?
In my past, my boyfriends, my fiancés, for real, I had my first fiance, Nate. He tricked me one time. My hip just went out in the car on our way to a date. We were going to dinner, and he said, let's go to dinner. I said, okay. And in the middle of the way there, I said, oh, he said, what? I said, nothing. He said, what? I said, nothing. And he looked at me, he said, okay. And on our way, I said, this ain't the way to the restaurant. He said, no. And in front of me said, Monterey Peninsula Hospital. He said, this is where we're going. You're getting your hip shot. I said, okay. So people like my boyfriends, my aunties, of course, my mother. I have my best friends, my friends who knew me. I hid my condition from my friends for the longest. I would have seizures in front of my friends, and they would say, what's wrong? I'm just tired. I'm about to go to class.
Can you go into that a little bit more? Because Sharifa and I have both had this conversation in terms of why were you hiding it from your friends, considering that this was a condition you were born with? Or
in middle school, I'll be called a freak. I'll be called names. So I have two kinds of seizures. Well, two.
Okay.
I have petit mals, which were, I can be talking like I am talking now and say, okay, now, good morning. What's going on, Sharif and Overcome? What's going on? The only way that y'all know I had a seizure, y'all wouldn't know, but I've lost the whole conversation of what the subject was, what the conversation was about. My friends wouldn't know that. They just thought, Isla tired. Why she get tired? And I would tell them, well, classes on my mind is hot outside. Seaside don't get hot at all. But I would use that for years.
Mm-hmm. Was there shame behind it, or because because for me, I'm thinking, I mean, like, I get it. I brushed off, Sharif has seen me like tremoring like this, and I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. but there's this place where you're like, and Sharif would jump in. I mean, like, there's this place where if you're having a seizure, don't you want your community to know what to do in case something happens? Is there, go on, Sharif is going to say something.
I understand. I think you can understand where Isla's coming from in the sense where you grew up being called the freak or known as the freak. How do you now tell them, well, this is what's really going on, without thinking, okay, are they going to think that I'm still that freak? Like, you never know how it might carry on into your life. So I can see it that way. I mean, tender age, that's your mindset. And so it goes with you.
I grew up with a cousin named Walt, we called him Dinky, who told me that seizures weren't real. Telling me that they weren't real, that they were made up. I said, okay, I just take medicine for nothing, man. And then I grew up with people teasing me about them. So I had that in my head for years. Mm-hmm. So I said the best way to get rid of this is to not
make it normal.
Yeah. Make it normal. And of course, when my friends found out, when my boyfriend found out what I was doing, they were livid. They were livid.
That kind of would be.
Isla, can I ask you a quick question? I wanted to know your lifestyle changes. What do you do differently to try to manage and, like Lisa said, cope with, every like day-to-day activities and stuff, seeing the things that you go through?
Well, since I've been seizure-free for 8 years, I take that, 8 years.
Nice.
In Vegas, I don't go outside when it's 100 plus degrees. I try not to, because seizures and heat, I'm allergic to the heat. Seizures and coldness, I have to make sure my body's in neutral like a car. I have to treat it like that. I have to always be in neutral. I can't be too cold. I can't be too hot, because my body will react. So I'm always dressing toward the weather. If I get in an argument, and Overcomer can vouch for this, if I feel like I'm making her upset, okay, it's time for me to go. Hello?
No, we're here. We're listening. They're
Yeah,
just listening.
yeah. But if I make her upset, or I think I'm making her upset, it's time for me to hang up the phone because I know what I'm doing in my body.
Wow.
So I let that, I let steamy situations, I let them go because I know my stress level can just react to a whole new different way.
Wow. I have a question for you, Isla.
That's why I'm forever saying, Kalila, okay, let me, and you know this because you often snap in like, okay, girl, look, girl, look, come on down 10 notches, just 10 or 20 notches, Lila, come on down.
That sounds like a Kalila thing.
Oh,
100%.
shut up.
100%.
Oh yeah.
See, this is what happens when you get two people that know you, the guest and the co-host. You're just screwed. You're really just.
Yep.
So Isla, there was when we had asked you to become a guest. You know, we ask our guests to give an inspirational quote or just to leave something inspiring. And you had said, live your life as normal as you can. Walk, enjoy the sun, rain, and snow. Even though you're in pain, you don't have to stop living your life. God made you the way you are. Remember that. If you have to go to the mirror, look at the person and say, I can do it one more day.
Yeah.
What?
Look,
Listen. This is what I'm thinking right now. Keep it moving moment. Like the word just
we're gonna have to put that into
no, I'm being serious. It might just listen. That was definitely a snap moment because
Isla, tell us, please tell us how you got to that mindset. Tell us what brought you there. It's such so powerful. After everything you've been through, explain to us how you got your mind there. Talk to us.
One, I have to give tribute to my mother, rest her soul, and my grandmother, and all of the legends in my family. But what got me there is I'm never going to be out of pain. My hips going to hurt me once a day, if not every day. I'm never going to have my seizures taken away. They're going to go dormant, but I still have the disorder. I'm always going to be hydrocephalus. That's going to be there. So I have to live my life to the fullest. Am I happy that I have this condition? No. But I'm going to smile. I'm going to walk the farthest I can every single day. Life is a journey that needs to be walked, that shall be walked, and I'm going to walk. God made me this way, and I got to keep going with it. Did he make a mistake? Sometimes, yes. Sometimes I think yes, but 9 times out of 10, I know he did not. He made me this way. I'm in his image. So that's why I say that. I'm a living, walking miracle. That's why my name is Miracle Baby.
That is so powerful. Like, Kalila, these are the reasons why I feel like God has blessed us so much with these phenomenal guests because, listen, we cannot just give them the show. Like, they are amazing.
She knows I want to write a book about my life, so I'm just giving it.
Listen, I will pre-order before it's published.
Not out yet.
I love you. You're like, I will pre-order. Let us go.
No.
Isla, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You know, we're just gonna put that up there one more time. This is Isla Hixson, aka Miracle Baby. And what we want to do is make sure that you have a moment that if anybody wants to follow you or find you, can you please share with us where they can find you on Instagram or Facebook or what they
everywhere.
Well, you can find me on Facebook at Ila Hickson, Nashay. And you can also find me on Instagram as Miss Nashay 78. And I'm an open book as I say. And my life is a journey. It's a tough journey, but a journey I walk.
Wow. I am so thankful for having you here. I'm so thankful
Absolutely.
that you
Why
said
you look
yes.
shocked? Why
I'm so blown away by I didn't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you like I
That's
know
what I'm
that I don't
saying.
know her.
When we get these little synopsis in,
But-
it doesn't do the real story justice.
It
But why do
doesn't.
you look shocked over camera?
I knew that you were a strong person.
Yeah.
I already knew it. But again, it was so funny because I was talking to Sharifa behind scenes before the show started. And our very, very ever first live show was Real Talk. And the title was Don't Judge a Book by Its Cover.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we are trying to advocate. And you are such an example of that today.
Absolutely.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Absolutely.
Like, we smile. Isla's like me. We smile all the time. And when we cry, we have a reason to cry.
Yeah.
But even in the midst of pain, you can have pleasure. And so this is such an amazing thing that I definitely, I just want to say again, thank you so much
Yes, Isla, thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
From the bottom of our hearts, Isla, we just want to say thank you. Please stay over for a minute while we just finish up the show and wrap it up. But we want to talk to you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Everybody say bye to Isla. Wow, Sharifa, I don't even know what to say about what today's show has literally been like. Look at your face. Your face is just like,
I'm thinking about some final thoughts, but I'm speechless. Like, I'm very speechless and mind blown to know, like, you always hear about it, but hearing it firsthand from someone who's dealing with it is different.
it
It's
is
so different. I think there's a lot we can take from this show, but I think you said it, and I think you said it all. Don't judge a book by its cover.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
No, I think that is what it is.
I'm actually excited to get into our keep it moving moment. I mean, as much as Isla's inspiration was like amazing, and you're right, we're gonna have to put it down as a Kim moment later on, and we will quote her for that.
Absolutely.
But let's get into today's keep it moving moment, which I hope people can see the correlation.
Mm-hmm.
And it says this: and once the storm is over, I'm going to repeat that. And once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through, how you managed to survive. You won't even be sure whether the storm is really over. But one thing is certain: when you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. That's what this storm is all about.
I love that.
I love that. That is such a great keep it moving moment.
Yeah.
And, Isla's had her storm. We've had our storms. We've questioned if our storms are over. I'm questioning if my storm is currently even over.
I'm telling you.
But you guys, like, we're still smiling.
Yeah.
And if you can still find smiles in the midst of pain, this is great.
Absolutely.
Close us up, my love. Close us up.
Oh, wow. Guys, that is the end of our show. My name is Sharifa McLaren Thomas from YouTube's The Thomas Life.
And I am Kalila, the Overcomer. We will be back next Tuesday. Oh my gosh, I'm losing myself. I'm so caught up in Isla right now. I'm so sorry. We will be back next Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with special guest Brian Park. Oh my gosh. She lives with I can never say this, endometriosis and endometriosis. Two different things. This chronic pain conqueror has managed to maneuver through life with painful periods and sexual experiences, excessive daily bleeding, pain, and much more. I mean, Sharifa, we've had conversations about, sexual intercourse and pain, but now we've got someone coming in.
On top of that, yep.
Brian is spreading awareness and has been sharing her experiences via social media as the my.chronic pain. So not only are we getting someone that is, going through life, but she's advocating to our chronic pain community. I am so thankful that she has said yes, and I can't wait to have her on next week.
Absolutely excited.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Chronic Pain Conversations. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at CP Conversation. We invite you to be our guest. If you are a chronic pain sufferer who lives with a chronic disease, or who even just has tips on how to manage life through the pain, we invite you to share your story in the chronic pain community. We also invite businesses and services such as chronic pain associations, support groups, pain management suppliers, and just health suppliers as well that help and support or cater to the chronic pain community. If you are one of those, don't hesitate to be our guest, or just to promote your business. Visit any of our social media bio links to fill out the form. Have a blessed day, and remember, Chronic Pain Conversations is the show that enlightens and advocates about chronic pain.